God, yeah. I'll try and keep this short and succinct and to the point. I'll take on a little canter through my life and how we've ended up here today. So I'm Anthony Staz Stazicker. I'm 41 years old. Spent 13 years in the British military, 10 in special forces. I'm a husband. I'm a father to 3 boys, Lucas, who's 13, Albie, who's 8, and Huey, who's soon to be 4. Growing up, I was born and raised in Wigan, up in Lancashire, at a fairly normal-ish, as I can remember, upbringing and background, very blue-collar. I just remember being outdoors a lot, not being too interested in school, but absolutely loved sport, loved being active, all the kind of usual stuff that young boys are into. That was my gig. I moved to Nottingham when I was about 9 or 10 years old. My parents split up. So me and my older brother, we relocated to Nottingham, or Mansfield. Again, it's just sort of a pit village in the East Midlands. And sort of displaced, new family kind of setting, new kind of school environment and all that kind of stuff. But again, very interested in sport. But oddly, it was all rugby up in Wigan. It was a big pie-eating rugby community, rugby league. And then moved to Nottingham or Mansfield, and it's all football. So I remember turning up on the first day at school thinking, where the fuck are the rugby posts? And it was all football, so soccer. So I had to adapt very quickly, and I was shit. I was terrible at football when I started. So I started playing for a local football team. Started off in net, all fucking 3'4" of me, terrible. Then started playing more outfield, and actually, as I was sort of getting embedded into a local football team, probably when I had my first kick in the balls, really, my first kind of adversity. Lost my mum suddenly overnight. It was a brain hemorrhage, which was a huge shock to everybody, and to myself included. I mean, looking back now with hindsight and a little bit of experience, just kind of bottled everything up. There was no access to talk to people, really. I was 11 years old. I was a fucking young boy, a kid. Felt very lost, felt very angry at the situation that I'd been placed into. Thankfully, I managed to channel that anger and frustration into sport. So football then, from that sort of day on, was my kind of golden ticket and way out, and my escape mechanism, I guess. Started playing at quite a high level. I was sort of Nottinghamshire College, sort of captain, doing really well. Then I was picked up by a professional football team, so I was sort of training a lot. My whole life was now revolving around football. I was being raised, it's also worth mentioning, I was raised by my grandparents, fantastic fucking people who I am forever indebted to. So my mum's parents, they relocated from Wigan and raised me and my brother in a small little bungalow in Rainworth, in a village in Mansfield in Nottinghamshire, and had a fucking good upbringing. It was quite old school morals and values looking back, which actually set me up for success. At the time as a kid, you're, what the fuck, I'm living with old people, almost embarrassed. But actually it was the best thing that could, given the circumstances, could have happened to me and my brother. So started playing football for professional football teams, played for England, represented the country, so England schoolboys, did very well. Like most failed footballer stories, I got a very bad injury at a very pivotal time, sort of at YTS level, so 16 years old. I used to also love racing motocross bikes, so in the off-season I was actually attached to Fulham at the time, so Fulham when they were in the Premier League. Had the duty, don't get injured, this usual chat, all that kind of good stuff, and went home, raced on a track and dislocated my knee pretty badly. Turned up for the first day back at pre-season training at Fulham, and obviously my knee was a mess, and just told them I'd injured it playing football locally. They rehabbed me, I had surgery, rehabbed, first game back, my knee went again, and I just remember sort of hitting the floor thinking, I fucked it, I've absolutely messed it up here. So I got released from there, went back, surgery, rehabbed again, then started playing semi-professionally. I'm now sort of 16 years old, but playing in a men's team in Mansfield, getting paid to play, but as a sort of semi-professional. Then started looking at other options, went to college, did a BTEC National Diploma in Sports Science, did that for 2 years, started to play for, or represented the British Colleges team. So again, playing at a high level, football, and then I started thinking maybe I've still got an opportunity in a career in football. I got scouted with a full paid scholarship to play at the University of South Carolina in America. So again, that was my next fucking sort of thing. Filled out some amateur eligibility forms incorrectly. Couldn't play in the league over there. I had my plane ticket, everything sorted to go over there. Met the guy that I was going to be living with, also another guy from England. And literally the rug was pulled 2 weeks before. So thinking, fuck, okay, let's readjust. Started working in a local council-run gym as a gym instructor. Clearly I loved the kind of gym and fitness side of things. I did that for a couple of years and was just thinking, fuck, is this it? Is this life, you know? Felt like I had a little bit more, I felt like I'd let it slip through my fingers, basically. And I was just doing all the usual stuff that you do at that age, 18 to 20. I was out every weekend, just pissing it up the wall, being an idiot, playing semi-professional football, working in a gym and ticking along. But I sort of thought, fuck, is this it? During that time, the kind of war in Iraq, Second Gulf War was kicking off, all over the TV, the Twin Towers had happened, I was seeing loads of Royal Marines on the telly. And then, for whatever reason, I started reading books that I was interested in. You know, like I said earlier, I wasn't particularly academic at school, but I started reading things that interested me, so military history, Royal Marines, paras, all this kind of stuff, and Andy McNabb books, of all things. And that must have planted the seed. It definitely did, because I started looking into a military career. Nobody in my family was from the military, so it's not like I was kind of following any footsteps or kind of being pushed down that route. For me, it was more around the challenge, the sense of adventure, the escape from what I was feeling at the time. So yeah, around 21 years old, I applied to join the Royal Marines Commandos, arguably the hardest infantry course that you can do within the military in the UK. It's 32 weeks long. It's the longest course that you do. So off I went. It was either that or the paras. I think for me, it was, if I'm going to do something, I want to do the most revered course, the hardest course, with the most credibility. So I always wanted to sort of push myself. There's a bit of a theme that runs through my life in that respect. I went down to the Armed Forces Careers Office in Nottingham, and the guy that was behind the desk was a Royal Marine, so he just sort of swayed me that way. And before I knew it, I was on a train heading down to Lympstone, the Commando Training Centre of Royal Marines in Exmouth. Stood off the train as a fucking young boy, really, looking back now, with an oversized suit and a fucking silly suitcase. That's probably one of my granddad's, and getting screamed and shouted at, thinking, what have I fucking done? Did the 32 weeks training. I was an original, so I started on day one, completed the 32 weeks training. Most people pick up some form of an injury and you're sort of back troop, but for me, I just started day one, finished on week 32. And actually, during that 32 weeks period, I really fucking enjoyed it. And I thought, this is kind of what I've been looking for, this connection. I've always liked to be around team sports, and football gave me that. Now the Marines and the military, it looked like this was kind of, this would work for me. So I finished the 32 weeks course. I was awarded the coveted Green Beret. You know, I was a Royal Marines Commando. I had the kind of the bell, and this, when the Commando flashes on my uniform. I actually finished as the top recruit, so I was awarded the King's Badge award. I also got the PT medal. I was the fittest guy in the troop. So I was kind of like, look, this might actually work for me. I kind of thought, or naively at the time, that I would be fit enough to do that, because I played at a very high level, a high standard for football, so that would translate across. And I loved the gym. I was working in the gym, so that stuff was kind of made sense. But what I didn't realise that I would be good at, or that I liked, was the military side of stuff. So the soldiering, getting fucking dirty, crawling around and playing soldier. And I really enjoyed that part as well. So off I went to a commando unit, 40 Commando Royal Marines, met Louis, the co-founder of Through Dark. We became very, very good friends, met people like Foxy, and we had a big kind of cohort from that year. I went on my first operational tour to Afghanistan, and then realised I was a fucking boy in a man's world, you know, thinking I was a Royal Marines Commando with all the bravado that comes with that, sort of thrust straight into war and everything that comes with that. I did 3 years in the Royal Marines. I then, on that first tour, met Special Forces, the SBS. They were kind of, we knew who they were, but they always kind of operated in the shadows and kind of didn't know what they did. You know, we knew they were in country, but was not completely sure what their operational output was. So yeah, for me personally, definitely planted the seed when I met them. They were super humble guys and they looked cool. They had all the long hair, the beards, the tattoos, different kit, and you just think, rock stars, I want to be one of those guys. What do I need to do? So off the back of that tour, went back into the Marines, and then I applied to go on to the sniper course. Again, probably arguably the hardest infantry course that you can do within the military and especially within the Royal Marines. Super high fail rate. Went onto that course, passed it with a distinction, so I did very well on that course. And I was using that, I didn't say it at the time, but I knew I was using that as a precursor to set me up for success for going on to selection. So after that course, as soon as I finished, I applied for UK Special Forces selection. Went straight onto that sort of course, did a bit of beat up training, a pre-course before joining down here in Poole. Got beasted for a week, running up and down the hills with all the heavy packs on, navigation, did some military skills stuff and break contact drills and all that kind of stuff. Off the back of that, I was loaded onto the course, and that course is around 6 to 9 months. And it goes through different phases of selection, which we won't go into today, but again, I started that course on day one. There was 240 people on our course, and 6 of us passed for the SBS. I was the only one of the 6 for the SBS that it was my first go, and my sort of first attempt. So, luck, judgment, combination of both, I don't know. But I managed to sort of drag myself through that course, and then at the end of that came down here and was awarded again my beret, but a different sort of cap badge. I'm now in the SBS, Special Boat Service. I'm now a Special Forces operator. Fucking snakes and ladders like life. You think you're the Don, and then hit the bottom. And arguably, well, it was when I joined the UK Special Forces. It was at the height of the war on terror in Afghanistan, and it was the busiest that the unit operational output that the unit had ever seen. So we were back-to-back tours, constantly out in Afghanistan. If we weren't out on operational deployments, we were back here being trained. We were upskilling. I was a demolitions expert, like I said, sniper before. I was a door kicker or an operator first and foremost, but people were doing medical courses, driving courses, just adding lots and lots of strings to your bow so that you're a force multiplier basically within the squadron. You would join the squadron and then just be upskilled constantly. And that was my life for 10 years. And, I had the best time of my life. I met some incredible people, very, very fortunate during my tenure that, I was surrounded by incredible people that I got to learn from. Towards the back end of my career, I finished as the chief sniper instructor. So I was instructing the guys, anything from, say, sniping, but it was all arms. So it was everything from pistol to carbine to long range shooting. I was delivering the courses and the packages back into the guys that were just about to deploy, which I enjoyed and loved. But actually, within that 10 years space, it is a long time, but it doesn't sound that long. I just ticked every professional box that I wanted to tick personally within my time. I'd had so many close shaves. I've been blown up and parachute malfunctions, comedy, not comedy moments of Pulp Fiction, bullets everywhere, and we lost guys on tours, and it was the best job in the world, but it was also the most selfish job in the world as well. And, it took its toll on my first marriage, and I met my now wife, Ruby, and I didn't want that to happen again. So I took the decision to leave on my terms, at a time of my choosing, probably at the height of my career as a sergeant doing very well. But actually, looking forward at the career projection, it's not the things that I wanted to be doing. And I'd done everything I wanted to do, and, still believe, and it has worked out well, that was the right decision to make, to leave on a high, with Louis as well, and we had the idea for Through Dark, technical outdoor clothing company, and that company and the idea for Through Dark was then born as we were leaving Special Forces. That was 2018, so we've been out for quite a while now. I've been working for the last sort of 7-8 years on the brand. And yeah, I've changed as a person as well. My whole life has been revolved around physical fitness, around the military, high output, high octane, high adrenaline, and then transitioning now into sort of the civilian world and what that means, and me changing as well as a person, not just physiologically, but mentally as well. The sort of adaptations that I've had to make. I've grown up, I've had to balance work, being a dad, and selfishly looking after myself as well. So that sort of takes us up to kind of where we are now.
From what you've said, you've never taken the easy road from what you've just said, which is, absolutely brilliant.
Well, before that, you said I've never taken the easy road. There's a fantastic book out called The Hard Road Will Take You Home, by a fantastic author called Staz Stazicker. book plug. Yeah, it is. Not book plug. Book plug. What got me to the position that I am today? I've never taken the easy road. I've always wanted to push myself physically and mentally. Across different challenges, whether that's running marathons or climbing, 7,000-8,000 meter peaks, running a business, trying to be the very best version of myself. About 2 years ago, I'm not going to say I hit rock bottom or I crashed or I burnt out or anything like that. It didn't happen quickly for me. It was a slow kind of degradation in the way that I felt personally. And it was twofold. One was physically. I wasn't feeling as physically fit as I used to do. And I know this comes with age. I wasn't recovering as well from working out. But the main issues that I were having was mainly around my mental clarity. I had so much, the best way I can describe it is like brain fog, memory recall. I was struggling to really sort of articulate myself, to think clearly in normal situations. Not people could say, well, yeah, you've got you own and run a fast-growing company. Of course, you're going to be, your brain's all over, but it's going to be scrambled. You're a dad, you're a father, you've got too much going on. But actually, I'd never felt that before. So I started thinking, what am I doing differently? Am I not resting enough? And I've always been conscious and aware of tracking my sleep, tracking how hard I work out, recovering well, all this kind of stuff. I was kind of tick, something doesn't feel right. Went to the fucking NHS, the doctors, got everything's fine, just crack on. But actually I knew in myself that's not how I should be feeling. I want to be fucking energized. I want to feel the very best that I can feel no matter what I'm doing, because it's not just I deserve it personally, first and foremost, and that should always be the start, but people around me deserve the very best version of me as well. So I started listening to a lot of podcasts, and continually I was hearing things around testosterone. Whether that was Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson or Huberman, all these people were mentioning around the links between testosterone becoming older, levels dropping, and just how important testosterone is to men. Off the back of that, I was introduced through a friend to Dr. Rob and the men's health clinic here. So I thought, look, I've never had my bloods done, never had anything taken. The NHS just fobbed me off and said, you're fine. Basically, just deal with it. It's just you're getting old. And you're not as fit or as active as you once were, given what you used to do, which for me felt like a bit of a cop-out. So took matters into my own hands, came down here and had a blood test. That was about maybe 2 years ago, 18 months ago. Off the back of those results and the excellent input from Dr. Rob and everybody here at the clinic, and this wasn't a quick process. This wasn't just come in, get your bloods done, do you want some testosterone? It wasn't like that at all. If anything, it was quite the opposite. Rob was, before we look at testosterone replacement therapy, let's look at everything else. Diet, sleep, nutrition, rest, sympathetic, parasympathetic, all this kind of stuff that I'd heard of but not actually looked into properly in terms of myself personally. So off the back of that was then talking to Rob about my levels, and actually my levels were low, but not too low, but they were low. But considering everything else that I do and what I needed to do in terms of across work, across personal and everything else, and the challenges that I wanted to do, and look, I just wanted to feel and be the very best version of myself. So off the back of that conversation, around about 18 months ago, I decided with the input of Rob and the team to go on to testosterone replacement therapy. There is such a stigma around men and testosterone and steroid abuse and people not understanding what testosterone replacement therapy is. I am mentally very, very strong. We can just look back at the things that I've done in terms of my career, my history, and my past. I've developed resilience through action, through the things that I've done, the things that I've seen, and the actions that I've taken personally. I know I'm mentally strong. But actually, most men we are terrible at asking for help and for talking about when we feel bad. We just think, oh, just man up, just stop being soft, stop being weak. You're just having a bad day or a bad week. When actually we want to be optimized. Men should be optimized daily. So actually it's a blessing and a curse to be mentally strong as men, because we carry the weight of the world and this burden on our shoulders because we're expected to be mentally strong. And not everybody is, and everybody has sort of tipping points and breaking points. And what, for me, from what I see in my experience of people that I'm close with, we carry that for too long, and we think it's fine, I'm tired, but I'm strong. And I did that for a while. Before coming in here, I was working out in the gym or doing jiu-jitsu, and I was just mentally battling through all of my sessions, thinking I feel so lethargic and drained. But because I'm mentally strong, I was just seeing myself through every session. I was waking up in the morning feeling like a fucking train had hit me. But because I was mentally strong, I was getting up and I was going to those sessions. Looking back now, just thinking, that's not how you're supposed to feel. Now I feel energized, I can work out twice a day, and I feel great. I feel like this is how people are supposed to feel. So it's not the elixir, it's not everything, it's not the golden key. It's not right, take TRT and all your prayers are answered. It's a very holistic approach on top of all the things that we mentioned before around sleep, nutrition, looking after yourself, hydrating, all the stuff that we kind of know, but sometimes you just need a little extra nudge and a reminder to do those things. But look, coming in, getting your blood checked and making sure that you're optimized, I think for me personally should be everybody's priority. Has the TRT journey been plain sailing? On a whole, yes, it has. Before we started, and Rob he was very explicit in sort of telling me that this is a lifelong sort of commitment and journey. The benefits for me far outweigh and outstrip any negatives attached to that. So the way that I currently feel, and what I have to do to enable me to feel like this is so minor. So the things that I initially thought were hurdles or problems or could have been problems for me were taking TRT daily. I thought, fuck, I can't do this daily. Well, I've got to take a micro every day, and then what about if I travel? What if I'm not here and I've got to take it with me? And all these things that I started thinking were barriers actually were so minor and so small. For me, it's part of my daily routine. I get up in the morning, the kettle's on, I'm making a cup of tea, I've got a little routine, you feed the dog, you do all your stuff, and the TRT process is a very, very small part of that morning routine. It's 5 or 10 minutes, so everybody has that time in the morning, and the benefits far outstrip the potential gnaws that you might think, oh, I've got to deal with that, and the waste and the needles and oh my god, it's not. It is super easy for me personally, I feel anyway. And for the first couple of weeks, it's just different because you're not used to it. That's not your routine, but very quickly it does become part of your life and your routine. Even the traveling part as well is super easy. Again, I just love seeing myself off. I don't know. A challenge came up to me recently, and I love the outdoors. I love the mountains. I love climbing. Through Dark, we're an outdoor brand. And it was Foxy of all people. He said, look, I've got this challenge that he was a part of a 4-man team to climb Everest. He couldn't make it anymore. And he said, look, if you can and you're available, I think it would be great for you and great for brand. Okay, tell me a little bit more about it. It's Everest. I thought, okay, great. Well, Everest will always have and always has that draw for anybody that loves the outdoors, anybody that likes challenges or climbing. That is the tallest mountain in the world. It's the North Star. The reason I've never committed to climbing Everest before is because of the time commitment. So ordinarily, a expedition to Everest is around 8 to 10 weeks. And for me, I just cannot justify spending that much time away from family first and foremost, and then the business. It's very selfish, and also it's quite boring being sat on the side of the mountain, acclimatizing, doing the rotations, shit food, just tent life. I've spent my time sleeping in the webs of trees in the military. I'm done with all that. So when this opportunity came, to bear, and it was the opportunity to climb Everest in 7 days, for me, it had my attention. So door to door, London, fly out, climb Everest, summit, back to London in 7 days. It will be a fastest known time, a record. There's kind of three main components to that. Obviously, the summit, the successful summit and safe return is clearly one of the main parts. But actually, the part that I was interested in was the fundraising aspect for military charity. The fundraising aspect for military charity. Why can't I fucking say that? The fundraising aspect for military charities. What the fuck?
It's a tongue twister.
Also, we've got the opportunity to raise £1 million for military charities. But also, we're looking to raise £1 million for veterans charities. And the third sort of arm and element of that was also to be at the forward edge of leading the science in terms of pre-acclimatizing at home. So right now, I think I'm up to about 220 hours. I'm sleeping in a hypoxic tent in the spare bedroom. Funnily enough, the missus wasn't up for having the tent over the main bed. And what that does, it basically simulates altitude. So it reduces the amount of oxygen in the tent. It's an enclosed environment. And over the course of the next sort of few months, every night you can kind of go up slightly more, reduce the oxygen, which simulates you going up higher, which is fantastic. I mean, lots of athletes do this stuff. It's not new. That's not new science or new technology. And the cause or the effect of that is that the body then reacts. It produces more red blood cells. And makes us fitter, but also we pre-acclimatise here in the UK. So I can, at night, it's just 8 hours, I'm in the tent, and then day to day I can go about my daily business. I can train here, I'm still with my family, I can still help run the business, so I'm not affected, I'm not away from all that. Another part of that is having our bloods taken. Today I've been in having an iron infusion, I've been having vitamins. We're due to fly out to Germany and have xenon gas, which xenon is a noble gas, it's part of the atmosphere, a very small percentage. Anaesthetists use it. For us, what that will do is reduce the risk of acute mountain sickness and HAPE, so high altitude pulmonary edema. Essentially, it's going to make our climb safer. This isn't going to skyrocket us up the mountain, but all of these things kind of combined with the physical fitness, the nutrition, the pre-acclimatization, the bloods, the iron, the xenon gas treatment that we're going to have should enable us to move quickly, but more importantly, safely up the mountain and back within 7 days. And what we're trying to say here is, look, you have an opportunity, people do have an opportunity to climb something like Mount Everest or another 8,000 meter peak. Don't have to necessarily kick yourself in the balls and do it in a week, but you could make that a 2-week or even a 3-week trip. So it makes it more accessible to people, and also it reduces the amount of time that people are on the mountain. It reduces the waste, the physical waste, and the resource required as well for people. So much like a military special forces operation, get in, get on, get the job done safely, and get back in time or home to our loved ones, which is again one of the primary reasons. So increase the safety and everything else. So what a fucking fantastic opportunity. I'm super fortunate that I've been given the opportunity to do this. I'm climbing with 3 other veterans. And yeah, it's going to divide opinions, but listen, we've always done that, and rightly or wrongly, we're doing it in this style, in this manner, and I'm excited. Was I worried about people's perceptions of what they would think about me taking TRT or testosterone replacement therapy? If you say to somebody, I'm on TRT, most people won't know. But as soon as you say testosterone, people think steroids, bodybuilder, he's going to get massive. Like, look at me, I'm 3 stone wet through, I'm 79 kilograms. For me, it was never about that. It wasn't about a look. I don't want to be a gym bunny. I'm not necessarily bothered about having big biceps or anything like that. It was all about me optimizing myself and having a balanced kind of approach to fitness, and the mental fog, which I touched on earlier. So again, this is just people's perceptions. People that are uneducated, don't understand about testosterone replacement therapy. Look, if you're a diabetic, it's no different of you saying, I need insulin for this level, for this reason, because my body isn't producing insulin, and it's exactly the same as that. So for most men, they won't even realise. They don't realise they're walking around day to day now, trying to go about their daily business or their lives, feeling fatigued, feeling tired, and just thinking, I'm just getting old, I'm just tired, or I'm just run down, or I'm just stressed. That's not how you're supposed to feel as a man, or anybody for that fact. So for me, it's fine. I honestly do not care what people think in terms of their opinions. I'm concentrating on me and what's important to me, and I've seen the benefits, the positive net impact of me since I've been taking testosterone replacement therapy far outstrips and outweighs somebody whose opinion, quite frankly, I wouldn't care about anyway. If I'm not calling them and asking them for their opinion, then I'm kind of not ready to receive it, and I hope that comes across in the right way. If you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling low, you have brain fog, or any of these symptoms, or even if you just don't feel yourself, and it's been over a prolonged period of time, you're not supposed to feel like that. Go and get a blood test. Go and get a blood test. Now, I get it. The NHS is terrible. You can get this through the NHS, but that is a very difficult process. I don't know what a blood test is, 100, 150 pounds. You can get them cheaper. I don't know. But for me, that is well worth the investment in yourself, because go and see. You have to test and measure, where you're at. It's the same as the gym. If you're just going to the gym and you're not continually testing, you're just guessing. So the best protocol is to go and get a blood test and take it from there. Look, prostate cancer is one of the biggest, killers in men. If you're not having your prostate checked, then you're just guessing. Don't wait for the inevitable to happen. Let's look at the before rather than the after, and try and treat that. For me, go and get everything checked. Go and find somebody that you trust, that you can speak to. And Dr. Rob has been absolutely fantastic with me. A very, very good approach, and very, very knowledgeable as well. So educate through podcasts, through books. Try and find out as much information as you can. There is a plethora of information online. Can be confusing at times, but the best thing to do is just go and get a blood test. Super simple and easy.
Really appreciate it. I know you're a busy man.
All good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.